Just about everyone is excited about the Artemis 1 rocket launch this morning. This is history in the making. We get to witness it, pretty much be a part of it. On your side is Lew Turner speaking with an astronaut assigned to the Artemis team.
And while today's launch is uncrewed, the goal is to get these astronauts walking on the moon by 2025. So they're going to be anxiously watching today's flight to see how it goes. Here's more with Lew.
All morning long, we have been so very excited about Artemis 1. And we are just a matter of hours away from this actually happening with the window opening a little later on this morning. It's a pleasure to now bring in a part of the team, right? And not just any team member, someone who has the potential as we get later on into the Artemis missions 2 and 3, somebody who will actually be riding this bad boy up to the moon. Annie McClain, good morning. How are you feeling about the mission? Big day ahead. What's your thoughts right now as we watch Artemis?
Good morning, and big day sums it up well, Lewis. It's a pivotal moment in the test campaign to land humans back on the surface of the moon and eventual exploration deep space and toward Mars. But today's a very exciting day. It's both the culmination of a lot of work over the past 10, 15 years, and it's also the start of a lot of work to establish that human presence. Down the road from you at Kennedy Space Center, all of the ground systems that support the largest rocket ever built are new. And so we had a wet dress a couple months ago and as recently as this past month to test all those ground systems all the way through the launch of the actual rocket called the Space Launch System, the Orion crew capsule, which is the much larger than the Apollo, and it will take astronauts further from the surface of the Earth than ever before, about 40,000 miles past moon.
So can you compare, what you would be riding in Orion versus your brothers from a generation ago or 2 generations ago in the Apollo, riding that rocket up? How does it differ?
Sure, it's not that different if you compare the car that you drove to the car your grandparents drove. Some things are much simpler and smaller. We have more computing power on our phones these days than the Apollo spacecraft had. So in some ways, it looks a little slicker. It has a lot more systems. We're gonna have a lot more information about the landing areas that we're going to. From the outside, it's really simple to look at it and go, gosh, it looks like somebody just put the Apollo on a printer and hit 1.5 times, made it a little bigger.
You've obviously you've walked the walk, quite literally, done spacewalks. You've been up on the space station. You've been out there, right? And I'm curious, I read one of your posts that said going to space had been a dream of yours, or becoming an astronaut since you were 3 years old.
There's never been another career that has crossed my mind of something that I wanted to do. When I was 3 years old, I went to preschool. I told my mom I'm going to school to learn to be an astronaut. When I was 6 years old, I wrote a little book about flying on the Russian Soyuz spacecraft, which is what I did.